Good morning, my dear 10th standard students. This is our history period. Let us continue with the first chapter, that is Historiography Development in the West. Before we go ahead with the chapter, let us do a recap of all the things we had done in the previous class. We started by learning the term historiography. What is historiography? Before that, understanding historiography, I had told you all about autobiography. Autobiography, writing about your own self. Biography, writing about other people. Historiography, writing about history. The writing of critical historical narrative is known as historiography. A very good question come into our mind. Who can write historiography? Whether you can write or I can write? No, it is only the historians who write historiography. A scholar who writes such a narrative is a historian. After learning this, we also studied about the different notable scholars. The contribution of many scholars in the development of historiography is significant. Let us do a recap of all those 5 notable scholars. The first one was Voltaire. We studied that why is he called as a founder of modern historiography. Then we also studied about René Descartes, his thinking as a modern historiographer. After learning about him, we moved on to Leopold von Ranke. Why is he called as a modern historiographer? Then we also learned about George William Frederick Hegel. He is also one of the modern historiographers. And the last one was Karl Marx. Why is Karl Marx called as a modern historiographer? We studied about the class struggle, which he has written in his book Das Kapital. Now we go ahead with our lesson. Let us start our lecture today by understanding the term Annal School. What is Annal School? A new approach to the study of history. When did it start? Annal School started at the onset of the 20th century. It was started in France. Annal School gave a new direction to history writing. What was that? Let us see. It said that history is not only about the historical events, the kings, the leaders, the politics, the diplomacy, and the wars and the battles fought in the earlier time. It is something more than this. What is that? History also talks about the condition of that particular period with regards to the climate of that era, the condition of the local people of that period, the agriculture, the trade, the technology, the communication, and many more. In short, it says that history is not only about the kings, the great leaders, the politics, the diplomacy, and the wars, but it is also talking about the local life of that particular time. This thinking gave rise to Annal School. According to Annal School, history means touching each and every part of the life of the common man of every period. Not a single thing must be left. Now we study about feminist historiography. Feminist historiography was inspired by the writings of Simone de Beauvoir. A question comes into our mind: what is feminist historiography? Looking at the world with female perspective means feminist historiography. Till now, we were always speaking about history as all the events and the battles and all the things which have happened in the past. But now, feminist historiography gave a new face to history. Feminist historiography means restructuring of the society from the perspective of women. It means that looking at the world with the perspective of women. It said that now it's time to look at history from the female perspective. Now let us learn about Simone de Beauvoir in detail. She was a feminist historiographer. She was a French. Her writing helped in establishing the fundamentals of feminist historiography. These 3 points will help you to write about Simone de Beauvoir if it comes in your exam. Now, let us do once again a recap of what is feminist historiography. The answer is in these 3 points. Feminist historiography means restructuring of history from the perspective of women. The feminist historiography emphasized not only on the inclusion of women in history but also on the rethinking of the male-dominated perspective of history. It also said that various aspects of women's life should be included, such as the employment, their role in trade and union, institution, their family life, and many more. Now we move on to the last part of our lesson. Archaeology of knowledge. What is that? It was the thinking of Michel Foucault. He was a French historian of the 20th century. He wrote a book, Archaeology of Knowledge. In this book, he said that arranging the historical events in a chronological order is not right. It means that till now, whenever we spoke about history, we spoke with regards to timeline. The first incident, the second incident, the third incident, the fourth incident. And after every incident, there was a transition. That means some changes happened between two incidents. This is what Michel Foucault wanted to say. He said that Instead of understanding the chronological order, we need to learn about the transition period between these two incidents. Explaining transition in history is more important. For example, first incident took place and the second event took place. There was a lot of difference between both the events. What is that difference? What is that change? What was the transition? That we need to understand in order to understand history. This was his thinking. With this, we end our chapter. I hope you might have understood the lesson. If there are any doubts, please write it in your book, and inshallah, when we meet in the class, I will be clearing all your doubts. Thank you. Take care.